All right, everybody, welcome back to the deep dive. Ready to jump into something pretty different today.
Different how?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about classical music lately.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's like it pops up everywhere. Movie soundtracks, TV shows, even in like video games sometimes.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how it sneaks into everything.
Right. But to be honest, sometimes I feel like I'm kind of faking it, you
Yeah.
know? Like I know the big names, but I get lost in all the details, all those periods and forms and
The jargon.
yeah, the jargon. So I thought, why not do a deep dive? Really untangle this whole classical music thing.
I like it. It's like it's been around for centuries, right? So there's a lot to unpack.
Exactly. So I've got a whole stack of articles and notes here ready to go. But let's try to, cut through all that and just get to what we really need to know. What do you say?
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Okay, so first things first. Origins. Where did this whole classical music thing even come from?
Well, we got to go way back, all the way back to the medieval period.
Okay, wait, really? Like knights in shining armor times?
Huh, pretty much. We're talking like 11th century. This is where we see the earliest forms of what we now call classical music.
So what, were they rocking out to lute solos after a long day of jousting?
Not exactly. Think more like monks chanting in a cathedral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was the era of Gregorian chant. These simple, unaccompanied melodies. It was all about creating a spiritual atmosphere.
So not exactly what you'd put on at a party then.
Uh-huh, probably not. But here's the thing. These chants were the foundation. They were the building blocks for everything that came after.
Interesting. So how do we go from simple chants to like the complex symphonies and stuff we think of today?
Well, they started experimenting. They began adding more voices to those chants, creating polyphony.
Polyphony.
Yeah, it basically means multiple melodies happening at the same time.
Oh, I see.
It was revolutionary. Suddenly, music had depth, texture, a whole new dimension.
Okay, so that's how the complexity starts creeping in.
Exactly. And that complexity just kept growing, evolving over the centuries. We start to see distinct periods emerge, each with its own unique personality.
Ooh, like historical phases of music.
Oh.
Okay, tell me about these periods.
Okay, so first up, we have the Baroque period.
Baroque. Okay, that one rings a bell. It's like super ornate and dramatic,
You
dude.
got it. Think big, bold, extravagant. It's the era of opera, with these incredible sets and costumes, composers like Bach, Handel, Vivaldi. They were pushing the boundaries of what music could do.
Ooh, so it was like the musical equivalent of fireworks.
Pretty much. And speaking of fireworks, Bach actually wrote a piece called The Fireworks Music.
Whoa, wait, seriously?
Yep. It was for a royal celebration, and they actually had real fireworks going off during the performance.
Well, that's like next level commitment to drama.
Right. They didn't mess around in the Baroque era.
Okay, so what comes after all those musical fireworks?
Well, things kind of settled down in the classical period.
Settle down how?
The focus shifts to order, balance, clarity. Think of a perfectly symmetrical garden. This is where we see composers like Mozart and Haydn really shining.
Okay, yeah, Mozart, Haydn, those are familiar names. But sometimes I find Mozart's music almost too perfect. Like, a little predictable. Am I missing something?
Not at all. It's easy to overlook the genius in Mozart's music because it's so deceptively simple. But trust me, there's incredible depth beneath the surface. His ability to create music that's both complex and incredibly catchy, that's the real magic.
Huh, okay. Challenge accepted. I'll have to give Mozart another listen with that in mind.
You should. But now, we got to talk about the Romantic period.
The Romantic period. Okay, I'm getting the feeling things are about to get intense again.
You got it. The Romantic era was all about passion, drama, pushing boundaries. Think Beethoven, Chopin, Wagner.
Oh yeah, those are some heavy hitters.
Right. These composers were all about expressing their individuality, even if it meant breaking the rules.
You mentioned Beethoven as a rule breaker. Were people at the time, like, shocked by his music?
Oh, absolutely. His music was so powerful, so full of emotion, that some people thought he was actually going mad. But for others, it was a revelation.
It's funny how what's considered radical in one era becomes, like, the norm in another.
It really is. Musical tastes are constantly evolving.
So true. Okay, we've covered the big historical periods, but what about the actual music itself? Like the structure, the sound, can all feel kind of intimidating.
I get it.
Yeah.
But think of it like building blocks. You have your melodies, rhythms, harmonies,
Okay, I'm following.
and those elements come together to create different forms, like symphonies, concertos, sonatas.
Oh, okay, so those are like the blueprints for a piece of music.
Exactly. They provide the framework, the overall structure, but then you've got all these different instruments bringing those blueprints to life.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like a whole zoo is playing at once. There are so many instruments in an orchestra.
It's a pretty amazing variety, right? You've got the strings, the woodwinds, the brass, the percussion. Each one brings its own unique color to the mix.
You know, the first time I saw a live orchestra, it just blew my mind. Like, suddenly I got how all those individual parts come together to create this huge, intricate sound.
There's really nothing quite like it. It's a wall of sound, but at the same time, you can pick out individual voices within it. And underpinning it all are these incredible techniques like counterpoint.
Counterpoint, that sounds complicated.
It is, but it's also incredibly beautiful. It's where you have multiple melodies weaving together, creating this intricate tapestry of sound. Think of Bach's fugues. It's like a musical puzzle with different parts interlocking perfectly.
Okay, I'm definitely going to have to listen for that next time I hear some Bach.
You should. You'll be amazed at how it all fits together.
All right, so we've covered the history, the structure, the sound, but we can't forget about the cultural impact of classical music. I mean, it's not just about dusty concert halls, right?
Definitely not. Classical music is woven into the fabric of our lives, even if we don't always realize it. Think about movie soundtracks. John Williams, for example, his scores for Star Wars. They're heavily influenced by late Romantic composers like Wagner and
Oh,
Strauss.
wow, you're right. I never really made that connection before.
It's everywhere. And of course, classical music is still the foundation of music education. Learning to play an instrument, to read music, to understand harmony and theory. It all starts with the classics.
That's true. So it's not just about preserving the past, it's about shaping the future of music.
Exactly. And speaking of the future, there are tons of contemporary composers out there who are pushing the boundaries just like Beethoven did back in the day. People like Philip Glass, John Adams, they're blending classical techniques with modern influences, creating a sound that's both familiar and totally new.
It's like they're taking the best of the old and making it fresh and exciting for a whole new generation.
Exactly. And with technology making classical music more accessible than ever, it's a great time to be a listener.
So there you have it. We've gone from chanting monks to contemporary composers, exploring this incredible journey of classical music.
It's a vast world full of amazing music waiting to be discovered. Now it's up to you to delve deeper into the periods and composers that resonate with you.
I know, I'm definitely inspired to do just that. And for everyone listening, here's something to think about. Next time you're listening to your favorite music, no matter what genre it is, try to hear the echoes of classical music within it. You might be surprised at what you discover. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.